For years, Canadians have flocked to the U.S. every winter, escaping the brutal cold for the sunny beaches of Florida, the deserts of Arizona, or the California coast. It was almost a tradition, snowbirds packing their bags and spending their dollars in American resorts, restaurants, and malls. But something changed. Since Trump took office, Canadian tourism to the U.S. has nosedived down by as much as 90% in some areas. This is not a coincidence. It is a statement. Trump's trade wars and tough talk toward Canada did not sit well with people up north. Tariffs, insults, and a blatant disregard for the long-standing friendship between the two countries have left a bitter taste. Canadians don't like being treated like America's 51st state, expected to just go along with whatever Washington decides. So they hit back the best way they could by keeping their wallets closed. Now, businesses in states that depend on Canadian visitors, places like Florida, Arizona, and Maine, are feeling the sting. Hotels sit half empty, restaurants are quieter, and stores that once thrived on Canadian shoppers are struggling. But this goes beyond tourism. If even Canada, America's closest and friendliest neighbor, is pulling away, what does that say about the U.S. under Trump? If he keeps pushing allies away, America might wake up one day to find itself standing alone. It started with a slap in the face. Out of nowhere, Trump slapped massive tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, minus 25% on steel, 10% on aluminum. No warning, no discussion. Just a cold, hard hit to one of Canada's biggest industries. It was a move that screamed arrogance, as if Canada would just take the blow and move on. But Canada doesn't play that game. In response, the Canadian government fired back with its own tariffs, $16.6 billion KD, 12.5 billion USD worth of American goods. The list wasn't random. It was designed to sting, minus 25% on U.S. steel, 10% on everyday staples like maple syrup, toffee beans, and strawberry jam. The message was clear. Two can play this game. And it wasn't just the government taking a stand. Canadians across the country made their feelings known in the most effective way possible by closing their wallets. They stopped buying American. They ditched U.S. vacations. Instead of heading to Florida, they stayed in Canada or traveled elsewhere. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect. Canada refused to be bullied by a reckless leader willing to throw a long-standing friendship under the bus just to score cheap political points. Things took a turn for the worse when American politicians started calling Canada the 51st state. That comment hit hard. It wasn't just an offhand remark, it was a slap in the face to Canada's independence and sovereignty. To many Canadians, it felt like the U.S. was saying, "You're not equal to us, you're just an extension of us." It was arrogant, dismissive, and left a lot of people feeling disrespected. But it didn't stop there. Some American officials went even further, accusing Canada of exploiting its trade relationship with the U.S., suggesting that Canada was somehow taking advantage of trade agreements. These statements added fuel to the fire and made things even worse. Instead of a partnership between equals, it felt more like a one-sided attack. So Canadians, fed up and hurt by these remarks, decided to hit back in the way they knew best by taking their business elsewhere. They canceled their trips to the U.S., choosing to explore places closer to home or go to countries that treated them with more respect. This wasn't just about lost tourism dollars, it was a loud message: we're not your 51st state, and we're not going to just stand by while you disrespect us. Canadians take pride in their independence. Their national identity is not up for debate, something Trump and his allies never seemed to understand. To Trump, trade was a power game. He thought he could strong-arm other countries into doing whatever he wanted. But Canada does not get pushed around. When Trump treated them unfairly, Canadians did more than just complain, they fought back. One of the strongest responses? A nationwide boycott of American tourism. Why spend a dime in a country whose leader constantly insults them? This was not just about money, it was a statement. If Trump wanted to slap Canada with unfair trade policies and treat them like a second-class partner, Canadians would make sure he felt the consequences. Instead of booking vacations in Florida or shopping sprees in New York, they took their money elsewhere, supporting local businesses, traveling within Canada, or heading to places like Mexico and Europe, where they were treated with respect. This was a direct hit to the U.S. economy and a clear reminder: Canada is not America's economic colony. But it did not stop with tourism. As Trump cranked up his trade war, Canadians responded by shifting away from American products altogether. They made a point to buy local, choosing Canadian goods over imports from a country that was trying to push them around. This was not just patriotism, it was a strategic move that sent a message where it hurt the most: American businesses. Trump thought he could bully Canada into submission. He was wrong. For years, Canadian tourists have been a lifeline for the U.S. travel industry, spending a staggering $20.5 billion annually. Whether it was road trips to New York, beach vacations in Florida, or summer getaways to Maine, Canadians showed up and they spent big. But then Trump happened. His reckless trade policies and arrogant attitude toward Canada rubbed people the wrong way. The final straw: his repeated jabs about making Canada the 51st state. That insult cut deep, and Canadians responded in the most powerful way they could. They stopped coming. The impact has been brutal. Nearly 2 million fewer Canadian visitors, $2.1 billion in lost spending, 14,000 jobs on the line. The hit is being felt everywhere, but especially in places that depend on Canadian tourism. Take Old Orchard Beach, Maine, a town where 40% of visitors are Canadian. Now hotel bookings have plummeted, restaurants are struggling, and amusement parks are emptier than ever. The whole community is feeling the sting of Trump's thoughtless policies. Florida is no different. Resorts and vacation rentals that once thrived on Canadian snowbirds are seeing a steep drop in reservations. Tour guides, drivers, local shops, everyone who depends on tourism is losing business. Trump thought he was playing hardball with Canada. Instead, his reckless decisions are sinking American businesses and putting thousands out of work. If this is his idea of winning, the U.S. economy is in serious trouble. Trump's reckless trade war did not just drive away Canadian tourists, it set off a chain reaction that is hammering businesses across the U.S. economy. It started with empty hotel rooms and quiet restaurants, but the damage did not stop there. Airlines like Air Canada and WestJet, which once packed flights to U.S. vacation spots, are now seeing ticket sales nosedive, losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Why? Because Canadians are done spending their money in a country that treats them with hostility. And it is not just air travel. The impact is hitting the roads, too. Gas stations along the border, once packed with Canadian road trippers, are sitting empty. Convenience stores and roadside diners that used to thrive on travelers heading south are now struggling to stay afloat. Some have been forced to lay off workers. Others are shutting down entirely. The cruel irony? While Trump bragged about making America great again, his reckless policies have done the exact opposite, pushing businesses into crisis, putting American workers out of jobs, and souring relations with one of the country's closest allies. He thought he was playing tough. Instead, he is just making a mess, one that American businesses and workers are paying for. If this keeps up, the fallout will only get worse. Thousands of jobs in America's tourism and service industries are already on the line. Small businesses that once relied on Canadian customers, family-run motels, mom-and-pop diners, gift shops in border towns, are struggling. Some might have to scale back. Others may not survive at all. But it is not just tourism. If tensions keep boiling over, the damage will spread. Trade between the U.S. and Canada, a relationship worth hundreds of billions, could take a serious hit. Businesses on both sides will find it harder to work together, deals will fall apart, and industries beyond tourism could start feeling the squeeze. For the U.S. government, this is a ticking time bomb. How do you protect American industries while keeping a key ally from walking away? So far, Trump's answer has been to double down on arrogance and trade fights. But if he keeps pushing, he may find out the hard way that America cannot afford to lose Canada's trust. Travel has always been about adventure, relaxation, and new experiences. But for Canadians, it has become something more, a powerful way to take a stand. By boycotting U.S. tourism, Canadians are proving that where you choose to spend your money is just as powerful as a protest in the streets. No need for loud demonstrations or government sanctions, just a quiet but effective message. We will not support a country that disrespects us. This is not just about skipping vacations. It is about refusing to pour money into an economy led by a government that treats Canada like an afterthought. If policies are unfair, if leaders are arrogant, people will respond the best way they can by walking away. If Canada's boycott works, it could be just the beginning. Other countries might take notes and realize they can fight back the same way. The European Union has already talked about trade restrictions to push back against U.S. tariffs. But what if Europeans, like Canadians, decided to stop spending their vacation money in America? The economic damage would be on a whole new level. And it would not stop there. Countries like Mexico, China, and Japan, millions of whose citizens visit the U.S. every year, could follow suit. If they too started canceling trips and taking their business elsewhere, the hit to American tourism would be devastating. At some point, Washington would have no choice but to pay attention. If U.S. leaders keep pushing aggressive policies, they might find themselves dealing with more than just angry governments. They might be watching the world's travelers walk away, taking billions of dollars with them. Boycotting tourism is not just skipping a trip, it is a powerful way to push back. Instead of sanctions or threats, Canada is using soft power, hitting the U.S. where it hurts, the economy. By refusing to spend money there, Canadians are sending a clear message: treat your allies with respect, or face the consequences. This is not just a protest, it could become a long-term strategy. And if other countries follow, the U.S. may finally realize that losing the trust of its partners comes at a steep price. The drop in Canadian tourists is not just a travel shift, it is a statement. Canadians are using their wallets to push back against policies they see as unfair. And the impact? Massive. Hotels, restaurants, and shops across the U.S. are feeling the sting. If Washington does not change course, this boycott could spread beyond Canada, hitting even harder. The lesson here is simple. Respect matters more than quick profits. When a country mistreats its allies, it is only a matter of time before the economy pays the price.